What is up, you guys? It's Sarcastic Dragon here, and you know what? I've been involved in a comment section, kind of not really a war, but like like people debating. People are saying Spore was good, it's better than No Man's Sky, and people are saying it sucks and everything. And there's a couple people saying No Man's Sky was better and everything. And you know what? And I honestly just didn't feel like comparing Spore to No Man's Sky was fair, because in my opinion Spore is just vastly better. Okay, so obviously, as the title suggests, this is going to be a comparison between Spore and No Man's Sky, and I'm gonna cover all the differences and similarities and stuff like that. We're gonna give them points and stuff like that. So, anyways, I'm gonna cover a different topic for each thing, and yeah, and I was gonna use Spore gameplay, but I didn't have any. I deleted all of it. So, I used it all for editing, and then when I was done with it, I just deleted all of it because I didn't think I would ever need it again. But here we are. So, anyways, I'm using a No Man's Sky episode that I never uploaded because it was just me chasing the quest, and the quest had no payoff. So yeah, that sucked. But anyways, so first topic is, should I add a transition in? I'm gonna add a transition in. Planets. Dun-na-na. Okay, alright, so here we are with the planets. Alright, so in the planets, the planets in both games are completely exploitable, okay? And they each have different landscapes, and there are more planets. There are more planets in No Man's Sky, okay? But there are still far more than anyone in a currently average human lifetime can explore, so that doesn't really matter. And everyone gets their own randomly generated galaxy, so it's not like everyone will be able to team up and find them all. The number, just for reference, the number of planets in No Man's Sky is roughly 18 quintillion, while Spore has a kind of a comparatively measly 100,000 star systems. But the planets in No Man's Sky are much, much, much larger. Like, I mean, you could really feasibly walk to one end from the other of the planet if you didn't have to worry about oceans in, I don't know, maybe an hour or two. And the planets in No Man's Sky are at least life-size, if not significantly larger. So, and every single planet in No Man's Sky has at least something of value in it, whether that's not space stations, like research centers, stuff like that. But so I mean, yeah, so I mean, at least everything in that game, whereas not all Spore planets have quite a few planets have absolutely nothing of any value. They're just lifeless planets. So, first point goes to No Man's Sky. So, customization of the player. Now, this one, there's no competition whatsoever, alright? There are literally pretty much infinite combinations for creatures in Spore, and your character in No Man's Sky likely doesn't even have a character model. The way things have been, the way things have seemed to be so far. So Spore easily gets this point. Moving on. So, alien races. In No Man's Sky, there are 3 races, alright? Korvax, Gek, and Vy'keen. There are also the Atlas, but they are never seen in-game, as far as I know. I don't think they are. But, in Spore, there are literally millions of possible races, alright? With almost 2,000 being made by the developers themselves. The rest are automatically or manually downloaded creatures that are created by other players from the sharing networks and inserted into the game to create more variety. So, 3 versus near infinite, and although the races sometimes repeat themselves in Spore, there's still significantly more variety. So, I mean, there's more variety in the science fiction novel I wrote than in No Man's Sky. You want proof? Fine. Tropotin v. Zykreg. 1 point to Griffin Spore! Alright, also I created 2 more, but like there's 2 more races that are in my book. Yeah, that's why there's more variety, but like, they're part of a series I have planned, and they haven't been revealed yet, so they're secret for right now, okay? Anyways, also I created the last 2 that I mentioned in Spore, which was fucking awesome. They look cool. Here, you know what? I will show you those. Roll the clip! Okay, there you go. Yeah, I mean, Spore wins that round, okay? So 2 points for Spore, 1 point for No Man's Sky. Now, next up is interactions with alien races, okay? So in No Man's Sky, we were promised complex relationships between the character and the 3 races. I'm really thirsty. My mouth is dry. Okay, but no, there isn't, alright? There's no way to twist that. Like, at most, once your relationship is high enough, I mean, you'll occasionally get like bonuses and stuff like that if you answer correctly and stuff like that. There's really no payoff to to being allies with the races. That doesn't really do anything. So, but in Spore, there is actually full-on diplomacy. I mean, it's basic diplomacy, don't get me wrong, okay? But it's diplomacy. And once your relationship is high enough in the space stage and creature stage, you can recruit members of the foreign empire to be your companions and fight or do whatever. Which is much more than you can say for No Man's Sky, obviously. And in the civilization stage and tribal stage, you can even order or request that they attack other factions, nations, or empires for a certain price, and they will occasionally, in the civilization stage mostly, but in the civilization stage, they will also occasionally ask the same of you, which is an interesting dynamic because it grants you a positive relationship while lowering it with another, and you kind of have to figure out which one will be more beneficial to you. I have all this written down. Like, it took me like 2 hours to write this up because like there's a lot of stuff I have to go over. So it's like there's a lot of text on my phone here that I'm like having to like find. So I'm sorry if I'm like delaying myself a little bit. But anyways, there's also in the space stage a special item that you can purchase from your own civilization or any others called a monolith. And this monolith, you can go to a planet if it has any animal life or civilization and place it there. When there is a resident, then the resident civilization or the animal that is closest to it, if there isn't a civilization, will quickly evolve into a spacefaring empire, which is valuable because you can actually create your own allies. And so that dynamic is much more complex than anything that you will find in No Man's Sky. So, another point to Spore. I've already lost count. Is that 3? I'm stupid. I have this written down. Okay, moving on. Alien languages, okay? So, in No Man's Sky, each of the 3 races appear to have fully fleshed out languages, and the Atlas apparently have their own language too. It seems to be fully fleshed out as well, and then you also have to learn it over time by finding various artifacts on various planets. In Spore, there appear to be different phrases that in about like 4 different languages that are used, and these phrases are used based on the emotion that the creature is displaying, and that's pretty much it. I mean, rather than learning it, you, in the space stage, you are simply given a universal translator with absolutely no explanation as to how the fuck that would work. So, 1 point to No Man's Sky for alien languages. Da-na-na-na, translation. Transition. Okay, alright, gameplay variety. Okay, you ready? Because this is a long one, alright? Alright, so, I'm going to start with Spore first, and this is the long one. So, in Spore, there are 5 separate stages. The first one is the cell stage, and in that cell stage, you must grow your cell by eating bits of food, and if you are carnivorous and omnivorous, fuck, I can't talk, then you also can eat other cells by attacking them. And then you also reproduce and upgrade your cell with different abilities and parts, like parts that allow you to move faster, and have weapons and stuff like that. Defense, those kinds of things. And you continue this for a while, and I don't know, usually this cell stage, depending on the difficulty, but for me it usually takes 20-25 minutes to get through. And then you will become sufficient size to become a land-based animal, which you will advance into the animal stage. So in the animal stage, you continue this trend by eating fruit, or if you're carnivorous, again, eating other animals, or omnivore, eating either one. You roam throughout the world looking for body parts in animal carcasses that serve any purpose, ranging from weapons to social elements, as usual, like I just said with the last one. And then same thing as before, you upgrade your creature by reproducing and using DNA, which you gain from doing certain objectives and stuff like that, like relating with other species, attacking other species, stuff like that. And you use those DNA points to add parts to your creature, which to a certain extent simulates evolution. So, it's not as complex as maybe they said it would be, but there is evolution in the game. So, yeah, there you go. And then you also must avoid epic creatures, which are massive versions of default or player-created creatures that are very aggressive and will easily kill you, and they just kind of roam throughout the world doing their thing. You just have to avoid them. and there's no really real way you're going to be able to fight back against those things until you get to the civilization stage. But anyways, I'm moving on. You continue to do this until, and slowly as you progress, your brain, the brain of your creature will slowly increase in size until you are complex and intelligent enough to become a civilized tribe, and that's when you enter the tribal stage. The tribal stage is sort of a command and conquer strategy game where you can befriend other tribes or destroy them. Tribes will often be different species than the one that you are, and you advance to the next stage by befriending or destroying all of the villages. How you accomplish this will determine what civilization type, which I'll get into in a little bit, you will be in the next stage. There are 3 types of civilizations in the civilization stage. Now I'm going to get into that. You can play as economic, religious, or military. Each of these have their own way of capturing cities. It is almost pretty much exactly the same as the tribal stage, except in the tribal stage you have to make sure your tribe members are fed and hunt for food. So you still have to. So the tribal stage is almost pretty much a cross between the civilization stage and the creature stage. Now, in a little bit here, I'll get into how each civilization type is different and how you have to modify your play style for whatever type you're playing as. So. Where was I? God damn it. In the civilization stage, it's different because you have to create a productive and happy economy for each city you control using 3 types of buildings, and they each allow you to do different things. There are housing units, which allow you to create more offensive units and also raise the population of your cities. And I mean that part's kind of irrelevant, but and that correlates to how you can have more military vehicles or whatever faction you are, you know. And then there's entertainment centers, which raise the happiness of a city, and factories, which raise the amount of money that is produced by each city. There's also a city hall, which is a central building. It stands in the center of the city, and it's kind of like the capital. Like it doesn't have any specific purpose, but it's just kind of the central building. There's only one per city. You can you can use default or player-made buildings, or you can create your own to actually make your city really unique. So that's another thing, is that while there are only like 3 types of space stations or stuff like that, there's only 3 types of buildings for each species in No Man's Sky. There's literally infinite combinations for your city as well, because each building is designable and shareable, and you get to name it and all that good stuff that you can never do with No Man's Sky. You also can name your ships and stuff like that. So that, I mean, that's something, you know. I was gonna do a face cam for this, but then I decided that I looked fugly right now. I just don't look good. So here we are with you watching No Man's Sky gameplay of me going around goose chasing all the Atlas stations. But anyways, moving on. Another thing about this dynamic is it also forces you to effectively and intelligently plan out how you place your buildings, because there are slots for each city. Like, you can't just place the building wherever you want. There are slots where you can put buildings in each city, and they expand when you put more, but usually the largest cities, you can put like 10, 15 maybe buildings, I'm not sure, but these buildings all have a different relationship with one another, which is really interesting. Based on basically, if they are right next to each other, they will be connected basically through kind of like these lines, and that's how you know that they are interacting with each other. And you have to make sure that you're doing this correctly, otherwise it could cause problems for you. For example, or they can cause bonuses. So, for example, if a housing unit is if a housing unit or the city hall is connected to the factory, to a factory, I should say, then that line will cause the production. Each line that is connected to either a housing unit or a city hall will be, it will add 400. So essentially, every factory starts off with 400 kind of units of currency as production. Then each line that you connect to either a city hall or a housing unit will increase that by 400 for each one. And same goes for the entertainment center. For both of those, it produces one kind of happiness unit, I guess, and that will and for each of those, the happiness will be raised by 1 for each line that's connected to one of the 2 buildings. Then and also there's no benefit actually if your housing unit is connected to the city hall. That doesn't do anything. But then finally there is if you connect a factory and a city hall together. Now this could cause an adverse effect because it will cause a negative happiness kind of point, I guess, to be added to the overall thing. So it can actually lower your happiness. It will, at the very least, if it's not connected to a housing unit or city hall, if you have something that's just connected to the factory, it'll cancel the building out and it won't do anything. In worst case scenarios, it can be connected to multiple factories at a time and it will actually lower your happiness level. So that is something that you have to avoid. So there you go. Those are the dynamics and relationship between the buildings and Spore, which is something that, I mean, I guess since it's a gameplay kind of thing, it doesn't really correlate to No Man's Sky, but it's just a detail that really makes it more immersive and challenging to a certain extent. So by this point, all of the civilizations they will be the same species as you by this point. Like in the tribal stage, they can be different species as different tribes, but in this stage, all of the civilizations will be the same species as you. But that's just kind of a visual immersion detail. So same as before, you advance to the next stage once you have destroyed all the enemy civilizations. And then also, if you created any allies by doing favors or declaring war on one of their enemies or something like that, after you have defeated all the enemy civilizations, they will decide to join you, and they'll join your nation, and essentially they'll be part of your nation now, and then you just kind of take them over like that. But so after that, you finally move on to the space stage, in which you create your own spaceship and name it. There you go. And so once you do that, now your job is to create a space empire in which you will expand across the galaxy through a number of means, including colonizing worlds, creating alliances with other spacefaring empires by completing missions for them, and other stuff like or waging war against them. You can also terraform lifeless planets into really habitable planets using various tools and by filling the ecosystem and with animals and plants that you collect from other planets. You can also create your own animals at this point using a special tool, which you could also use to fill out the ecosystem if you wanted. Let's see, where are we next? Okay, so there are also a vast array of weapons that you can use as you advance in the stage. Each empire type, of which there are 10, has their own special ability, with the exception of Wanderer, which is what you get if you start at the space stage. There are 3 super weapons in this game, 2 of which belong exclusively to 2 different empire types. And these 3 are all very powerful, but using them breaks the so-called galactic code. And this will significantly damage your relationship with any empire that is within a certain radius of where you used said weapon. So that's another thing that you have to think about if you're going to consider using one of these. And the one super weapon that isn't exclusive to a civilization type that you just have to advance in order to get is called the Planet Buster. And as the name suggests, it lets you blow up a planet like full Death Star style. It's awesome. But anyway, so yeah, there's that. And then once you've played all of the stages, once you can start a new game at any stage you want. So you can start at the space stage, but then you'll be a wanderer and you won't have a special ability. I'm not going to go into what each special ability is because that would take too long, and I'm already going on long enough. So, in No Man's Sky, for the gameplay, you gather resources and occasionally fight enemy fighters. That's about it. I'm not even going to bother announcing the winner for this one. So, moving on. Antagonists. So, in No Man's Sky, the main antagonists are the Sentinels. They attack you if you do too much damage to any given planet, but they are very easy to deal with and really, honestly, don't pose that big of a threat, and you can easily just run away from them. In Spore, any spacefaring empire or nation or tribe, depending on the stage, can be an antagonist, but the main antagonist in the game is an aggressive military species called the Groks, okay? The Groks are very aggressive and are infamous across the galaxy for basically committing mass genocide against any race that it really comes across or deems a threat. They are very paranoid, and it seems that's the reason they do what they do. But the Groks are all grouped up in the center of the galaxy, and you honestly won't find them anywhere else. The Groks are very, very powerful and numerous, okay? Whereas the largest empires you will find in the game have at most 15 to 20 star systems, which I guess is kind of a downside to the game, honestly. But that's about the extent you'll find most empires at max. But the Groks Empire, they have not 50, not 100, but 2,500 different star systems under their control. When you make it to the center of the galaxy, you can, if you really want to, become allies with them over time. But this is extremely difficult because they will immediately consider you an enemy and attack you on sight. They will. You also have to be careful because one of the weapons you have available to you is an auto turret, and if you don't turn that off when you first meet them, your auto turret will automatically attack them, and that will damage your relationship and lower the possibility of you being able to successfully befriend them. Also, you see that right there? They totally ripped that sphere over there in the gameplay off of the Cryptum in Halo 4 and 5. I'm telling you right now, that's exactly what it looks like. Okay, moving on. So, also, if you allies with, oh, yeah, no, my bad, I missed a bunch of stuff. And they will continue to attack you on sight until you reach full allied status with them. So, like, you have to make sure that you got a lot of health, a lot of regen packs, stuff like that, or you're not going to last very long. You can also attack them and kind of wage war against them, but you really shouldn't do this until your empire is quite powerful because they will chase you across the galaxy. And whereas most empires, if you're very far away from them or on the other side of the galaxy, they won't really come all the way out there to attack you. The Groks will do that. So you have to think about that if you're going to go ahead and attack them. You have to make sure that you've got significant defenses on your planet and offensive capabilities. And if you do end up allying with the Groks, you will immediately receive an extreme negative relationship bonus with every other empire in the galaxy, and it'll pretty much destroy your relationship with all but your very, very closest allies. There are also a few interesting fan theories about the Groks, and I'll talk about them towards the end because they're really cool to think about, but they're not really relevant to this. So there you go. Or I don't know. So because of the extensive relationship and dynamics you can have with them, Spore wins this round. Fuck, what is that? I don't know. I'll figure it out when I'm putting in the transitions. So, ultimate objective. Just like in No Man's Sky, the goal of Spore is to reach the center of the galaxy. And normally you would call this a tie, but it's much more meaningful in Spore for two reasons. One, you face a lot more opposition getting there in Spore, because you have to fight through an enormous amount of Groks because they're really clustered in there around the center. And if you're going to go ahead and ally with them, then they won't attack you, but you still have to upgrade your warp drive in order to get there because your warp drive becomes less effective as the gravity of the galactic core kind of messes with it and just makes it less effective, so you can't travel as far. But so there's that. But then the second reason is because there is actually a payoff once you get there. Once you get to the galactic core, there's a unique type of wormhole. There are also wormholes that you can travel through just like in No Man's Sky. But there's a unique one in the galactic center that you will go through. It will kind of cut to a cutscene. Spoilers. But inside you will meet a small spaceship he's an Easter egg. He's from another game, I know. But I can't remember which one specifically. And he will talk to you and kind of congratulate you for making it to the center, you know. And also, just another note, I mean, this is just kind of an interesting thing. This spaceship is also the only thing in the entire game, as far as I know. Yeah, it's the only thing in the entire game that verbally speaks English, or whatever the language is that you're playing in. So, I mean, that's just kind of an interesting thing. But then he will gift you the Staff of Life, which is an artifact that can instantly terraform any planet and will fill out the ecosystem randomly. It will terraform it to the highest possible rating, and so it's just a very useful tool. You get 42 uses of it, which is a reference to Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which said that the answer to life, the universe, and everything was 42. So, I mean, that's just kind of a cool little thing. Wow, this has gone on a lot longer than I thought it would. Another thing about the Groks is that they can survive, or they can only survive on inhabitable planets, so planets that aren't within any sort of habitable tier for normal animal life. They can only survive in uninhabitable planets. So if you terraformed a Grok's planet, it will destroy all of their colonies on said planet. So that does actually make the Staff of Life not only a good colonizing tool, but a very effective weapon to use against them, because one shot will destroy that entire planet. The problem is you only get 42 uses with it, so you kind of have to decide how you're going to use that. Or you can do it like I did and get a mod that kind of hacks it and gives you unlimited uses of it. So, you know, whatever you want to do. So, another point to Spore. Boom. Alright, emerge into multiplayer. So, No Man's Sky is immediately docked because, as far as we can tell so far, as of the time this video is being made, they lied about the multiplayer elements. There is no known player interaction, except for the database in which players upload stuff. But other than that, there is no multiplayer interaction as far as we know as of this video being made. There is no multiplayer in Spore, but any creation, being buildings, vehicles, spaceships, or other creatures that a player uploads to the sharing system can be downloaded and used by anyone else. And you can even modify them yourself afterwards if you want. So, I mean, you can even customize other people's characters or the default characters or stuff like that. You don't necessarily have to build something from scratch. Let's see. Another cool thing is that all of your save games are actually in a shared galaxy, meaning you can actually visit your other save games once you become a spacefaring empire. You can, if both of your saves are spacefaring empires, like if you're a spacefaring empire and you go to one of your other save games, and in that game you were also a spacefaring empire, you can actually ally yourself with another one of your save games, which is really, really cool. The only thing about that is you have to do it twice, once for each save, but it's really not that difficult, so it's like, whatever. Honestly, in my opinion, No Man's Sky is very dull a vast majority of the time, and the atmosphere can be lacking at times. On the other side, Spore can be very silly and childish, but it really does, honestly, to me, have a lot of charm to it. It just doesn't really take itself all that seriously sometimes, but you know, it's really a matter of preference. But so another interesting thing about Spore, just another thing, is it actually takes place in the Milky Way, which is our galaxy. If you somehow didn't know that, but I mean, some people don't. So, okay, so, and this is known because in the spiral arms of the galaxy, you can actually find and colonize, if you want, our solar system. You can find, you know, Earth, Mars, Venus, stuff like that, and it's all in one solar system. It's really, really a cool Easter egg. Earth instantly has the highest habitability rating, just as an added, you know, bonus. So it's actually kind of useful. But in the end, this one is kind of up to preference, minus the No Man's Sky's, you know, non-multiplayer lying possibly kind of thing with it. So honestly, I'm just going to go ahead and give it a tie on this one. But I really honestly think if we add everything up, honestly, I think Spore has the upper hand in this one. But I'll go ahead and give No Man's Sky the benefit of the doubt and say maybe there was a glitch and there are multiplayer elements. So for now, tie. Alright, so there you go. In conclusion, there's honestly, a lot of stuff I miss regarding Spore. I mean, there's a lot more to the game that really just adds a lot more complexity and replay value to it. There's just so much in it that I honestly couldn't even talk about it in this video. I didn't think I was going to use all 32 minutes or whatever of gameplay I've got here, but it looks like I'm gonna right now. So, I mean, honestly, I missed a lot of stuff, and honestly, I just don't think what I said, honestly, can entirely do the game justice, if I'm being honest. So, I mean, there you go. So if there's anything below that I missed in particular, feel free to discuss about it in the comments below or whatever. But in the end, based on the tally of this video, Spore massively outdoes No Man's Sky pretty much every aspect, excluding language, depth, and planet size and content of said planets. So, I mean, that's my opinion. Let me know what you think. So, there you go. So, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you made it to the end of this and you agree, maybe like or subscribe if you want. I mean, I'm just saying. Or you can comment and say, Sarcastic Dragon, you're biased as fuck. Shut the fuck up. And you know what? That might be kind of true a little bit, but you know what? Spore's awesome, alright? Just, you gotta give the game a try, okay? But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.